Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Let's Build Something. Took a little bit of a break, just got some pay-in work that had to get done, and I just kind of do this on my spare time. So hopefully the time gap hasn't been too bad. I think it's only been a couple days, but still, I'd like to be consistent, and I mean the projects, they just keep coming. So no shortage of those. Today actually we're going to be attacking a Python scraping script. I believe I've already written one on this channel. I believe it's probably the first video. I think it's a slightly different. This is actually a totally unique challenge. We'll get into the details of it after. If anyone's wondering what the music is, it's YouTube. It is a YouTuber named Justice Durr. Totally recommend his content. Does covers of popular songs, and just really enchanting to listen to. Anyway, I'm gonna be watching the chat while this goes on, and if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment. I get notified and I will respond. So let's get into the problem. So the request is convert a list of Twitter IDs into account handles. Okay, I have a text file of user IDs, ID on each line, and a script that returns a list of account handles. The URL and the format to get the handle is this. It can be used to find any info on an individual ID. Some of the IDs are outdated and may return a 404. Good to know. There's probably also people that are suspended because people do dumb shit on Twitter all day. So there's probably some people that do exist but just don't have an account. I actually have dove into this issue already, and I just wanted to get some clarification just to see what the client's limitations are, because you always want to be sure that if you're making a solution, you're not even burning time on something that's going to be kind of over their head on a technical aspect, even if it's just installing some software, because what might be simple to you isn't simple to others. So anyway, I asked him, can you run Python scripts, or do you just want something without installing anything? What OS are you on? Is a text file, IDs on each line, or are they comma separated? Which I guess I just didn't read that the IDs are on each line. But either way, he said a Python script would be ideal. He's on Mac OS Mojave 10.14, and the IDs are separated by new lines. And then, okay. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to pretty much restart making the script, and we're going to walk through the entire process. So I know he's on Mac OS, so that means that he can use Python because Mac OS comes installed with Python. So this is actually going to be pretty easy from a technical standpoint. It just takes a little bit of, I guess, background knowledge. So what we were going to do is first let's look at this link. It looks like it's just twitter.com endpoint where you can query a user ID, and it looks like it's what, 8 digits. Let's just hit one up. I mean, XXX is not going to be found, so that this is a 404 page for Twitter. But let's try just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that's 8 digits. Who is this user? That's not a user. Let's try another. There we go. Okay, so this is just a random 8 digits. I have no idea who this is. Looks like it's Daniel Carney. I wonder if 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I wonder who that is. Oh, I thought that'd be maybe Jack on Twitter, but I guess it's not. Anyway, let's see. We do all 8. Yeah, we don't get anything. So let's just try. Okay, so I'm just going to start changing these last 3 digits and just see. And so you can see that, if we hit up just some random digits, sometimes we get 404s, sometimes we get legit accounts, and sometimes, I'm sure eventually if we tried hard enough, we'd get a suspended account. So actually, I developed just wrote down some quick IDs. These are random numbers that I just typed in. I don't know who these people are, but I just know that these are going to be examples that he would have. He didn't give me any explicit examples of the people that he might be using, but it looks like everyone actually isn't suspended in this random list that I made, which is kind of nice because it means people on Twitter are being friendly for once. So let's see. Anybody? No, Fried Duck Inc. Who the heck is that? Anyway, okay. Alright, anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to hit these endpoints, and we're just going to actually scrape the screen, and we're going to get this value. So, shouldn't be too bad. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just make a folder real quick. And we can rename it if we want. Call it Twitter Scrape. And let's see. next thing is to actually, let's make that txt file. So let's just do one, we'll call it users. And inside this file, right here, I'm just going to copy and paste these new line separated guys. You see I have 0, 0 in here twice, just because, like, you know, we're going to be doing some looping, and I want to make sure that if we get a 404, we don't exit the loop. We want to hit everybody up. So, save that. All right, so that's done. Next thing we're going to do is just make the script. So let's, yeah, and we're just going to call it, I guess, get users.py. Okay, cool. We can edit this in idle, but you know, I'm picky and I like to be fancy, so we're probably just gonna actually open this up in Atom. Now, the kicker is that we're gonna actually have to run this, though. We're gonna actually have to run this with, I guess PowerShell might work. Probably won't. Let's see. Let's check if we got what Python we're running. Okay, 3.7. Let's see if we can even run any scripts. Get users. Okay, cool. All right. It didn't like error out or say anything wild, so I guess we're in business right here. Let's shrink this over. Taking up a little bit too much real estate there. Okay. So, all right, we're in get users.py. I think I have an extension that'll run Python in the command line. There we go. That might be easier. I might not even need this. So anyway, the first thing that we're going to do, because I know we're going to be scraping the internet, is we're going to import Beautifulsoup 4. So let me pull up Beautifulsoup for you guys. Beautifulsoup is, hold on, I haven't watched a lot of Jim Carrey movies recently, so I don't know how to spell beautiful. Anyway, Beautifulsoup is a Python library that you need to install. It doesn't come pre-installed with Python, and it is basically for parsing HTML and XML files. It's absolutely beautiful for the job. I don't know of a better library. Maybe one exists, and I'm sure one does exist for very specific use cases, but for the majority of time, if you're scraping, Beautifulsoup is a good choice. You really can't go wrong with it. So anyway, we're gonna, I think, well, first we have to check and see if it's installed. So let's do from bs4, which is the actual name of the package. We're gonna import Beautifulsoup as, and we're just gonna import it as bs, even though it's not bs, but yeah. And then I know we're gonna be scraping the internet, so we're gonna need to do request. Request is also not pre-installed on Python, and so and we're actually, you know what we're probably going to do when we get all these handles and everything? We can write it to a text file, but let's be fancy and write it to a CSV, just because, you know, we do things the right way here. We know we're going to try and, the first thing we need to do is make sure that we actually have these packages installed. There's no module named BS4. Let's see if we can run it here. Let's see. Pip installed. I think it's here. Look, this is where we can consult the documentation and install Beautifulsoup. Beautifulsoup. Okay. And let's see what we got here. It should just be one of the, yeah, installing. Okay. We're not doing apt-get. Okay, so it's just pip install Beautifulsoup 4. So Beautifulsoup 4. And let's see if that works. If it says we don't have pip installed, Windows. Just Windows problems. That's all that is. Okay, cool. If Beautifulsoup isn't installed, I'm gonna also check that request is installed. So Beautifulsoup, as we went over, is the requirement already satisfied. So we're good. Okay, so and let's see if we can run the script without erroring. Perfect. So just to go over this, Beautifulsoup is going to be for parsing the HTML page that we're scraping, and the way we get the HTML is we use the request library, and the request library is actually a wrapper around URL lib3, which is a native Python library for, you know, getting stuff from the internet, posting information to the internet, really just kind of navigating the internet pretty much through commands and getting whatever the web pages return you. So request is just a really nice wrapper. It makes things a little bit easier just to navigate data-wise. And Beautifulsoup also, like I said, you know, is working with the HTML. So once we get the website and we get that raw HTML, we want to parse it. And you know, depending on the website, that can be a complete mess. So hopefully we'll be all right here. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to read in all these Twitter IDs. So we're going to do Twitter IDs. or this is just going to be an empty list, is what you would call it in Python. And then we're just going to have Twitter handles, and this is going to be an empty list for now too. But what we got to do now is we got to do user file is going to be equal to open, and we're going to do users.txt. I can just say users.txt because users is in the same directory as our Python script. And what we're going to be doing with the users.txt is primarily reading, so we don't need to really do anything about that. This will read in all of the data that is in the users file, and since it's line separated, we can do for ID in user file. We can do let's just see what we get, because we might get some wild stuff, because the new line characters sometimes show up, and if they do, we're gonna have to strip them, or else our request is gonna be bad. So let's see. Okay, so I can already tell you there's gonna be a new line problem, because you see how we have an ID here and then we have a blank line. This blank line is actually rendering as a \n, which is a new line character. So when we print the new line, it actually puts a space in between each one. It also meant if we were to just put ID into Twitter handle, append it, we'd wind up with a lot of empty array slots. And we could compress them down, but let's just, from the get-go, not even bother. So let's do if ID is not equal to \n, then we will do Twitter IDs append ID. And then what we can do here is just print Twitter IDs and see what we get. So what we're doing here is we're reading the file. If the character is not a new line, which is what this gap between the print statement is, then we're going to take the actual ID, which is a string, and we're going to push it to this list. And so let's see what we get. Okay, so you'll notice we got a \n even in it now, because when I do print of the array, Python actually doesn't render this \n because I'm not asking it to render every single item. So we got to strip this n off of the numbers, or else we're gonna be sending invalid requests, because we're gonna have at the end of the URL 8 numbers and then a \n, which is not gonna, which the endpoint is not gonna render, which we can try right now. So let's see. Here it is. So we got this. We do \n, and look at that. Now we got a 400, which isn't even a 404. So it's just error parsing the request. So what we need to do is we actually need to do some magic on this ID before we append it. So actually, there's a really easy way of doing that in Python. It's just strip. And we're going to be stripping any character that is \n in the ID. And now, if we print the Twitter IDs, you should notice that they're just all strings, but they're all just digits inside the string. So that's cool. All right. One other thing we're probably going to want to do, is we're going to want to specify the URL in a way that we can format it, but we'll get to that later. So we got our Twitter IDs going up, so that's pretty good. Now we just got to do for ID in Twitter IDs. All right, cool. So here we'll do print fetching handle for, and then what we'll do is we're going to do string replacement here using %s, which means %string. We could also do d for a digit, an int. And then what you do is actually you type your string in double quotes, and any %s, you put another %, and it will fill in the variable there with whatever the argument is, and it goes in order. So if we had %s, 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 then we're going to have 3 variables here. If you don't have the same number of arguments as you do call for in the string, you will get an error. But you'll see what we'll print out here is fetching handle for, and then it'll print out the number. So there we go, fetching handle for. There we go. All right, so first thing we need to do is specify our URL for our endpoint, which I don't remember it off the top of my head. This is it. We're going to take this, and we're going to put it in double quotes, and we're going to delete this section, and again, %s, %id. And so now our URL is going to be fully formed, and this is where we're going to start to, we just do result. This is where we use request. And since we don't have to post any data or do any kind of authorization at all for this URL, this is going to be super nice to us. So we can actually just pass in URL, and then if we just do print result, this is going to get messy really quick. So let's exit after the first, I think it's exit. Let's see what happens. That might not be. Oh, Python 3.7. All print statements need to be in parentheses. So let's see. I think we're fetching the array. So yeah, look, we got a response 200. Oh look, it's telling us our response. We got a 404. Yeah, so it actually is telling us the response that we got right now, which is nice. This is the factor. This is because we used requests. If we were to try to like just raw grab whatever info is inside this request, it would just be an absolute mess. So what we want to do is, if the request is a 404, let's not even bother do what we're about to do, because when we get a 404, let's see. Oh man, these digits just go on. Okay, so when you get a 404, this page is going to come up, and a handle doesn't even exist on this page. So we're not. So if we get a 404, we're not even going to bother with trying to fetch the result. So if the result status code, which with request, so what I do is I call the URL, and it returns us a response class, which is part of the request library. You can actually take the result and get the status code, which is going to be 200, 404, 500, whatever. And what request has is a really nice wrapper for, I think it's not found is what we want to do. So because the not found code is going to actually be 404, which we're all familiar with. Request codes. Let's do Python. That's pretty vague. Here we go. Request status codes.py. So you can see, the .teapot status code, which means that the endpoint is a teapot, is 418. Codes for success is 200. Codes for temporary redirect 307. Like, these are just where you can define custom maps. But this is all of the codes that exist. So informational, redirectional, client error, server error. I mean, these are all just like, and look, here's 200. You can look for okay, okay, all okay, whatever. You can type in these guys, whatever you want to do. What we're looking to find are people that are 400, which is bad request or bad, which is why I can also type in not okay, because that's 404. So not okay, not found is what we typed in. This is an alias for 404, not found. As also -o-, which is, I guess, an emoji or something. Anyway, there you go. So that's why I'm using that code. So what I'm doing is I'm actually saying, okay, your request, look in your codes static library and find something that matches not found. And if our status code matches what this guy returns, then we probably just want to tell the user that ID %s is, let's say, returns 404. 404, and then don't forget your %ID, because this is the variable name and this is the placeholder for it. And then what we want to do is we don't want to continue doing any more operations that's going to come after this statement. So we're going to do a continue. And continue, basically what it says is that when if this statement is true, it'll print this line and it'll continue. And what continue means is go back to the top of the loop and start with the next item. So not with the same item. So continue means skip where I'm at, skip doing anything else that comes after this, start at the top of the loop, and let's go again with a different value. So this is where we're actually going to start using Beautifulsoup. So we're just going to call it a soup variable, and what we're going to call is the module BS, which is Beautifulsoup. That's just what we named it. We imported it as an alias as BS. And what we want to do is we want to take the result content, which is going to be all the HTML page, and we were going to want to specify the parser, the HTML parser, because we're parsing HTML. There's an XML parser, there's HTML parser. I believe there are some other parsers as well, but for this kind of exercise, we're not going to be doing anything outside of that. We just want to get this guy's problem solved, and if we run into problems later, then we'll solve those. So the next thing that we need to do is with this soup. So the soup variable is an instance of Beautifulsoup, and Beautifulsoup gives us some really, really cool commands and classes that we can do work on and more quickly find information out of the page. So what we need to do is first figure out what in the hell is a handle on this page. Like, what does that look like in HTML? Well, you see sold by Janice. Let's go to you're going to easy inspect element. Okay, so we're inspecting element. Oh wow, okay, that was way more of a simple structure than I thought it would be. Anyway, it looks like you've got a div with an ID of BD. You know, he's got div, div, div. You got this nested paragraph class, but more importantly, this is what we're looking at. It's a span with a class of nickname, and the interior text is the handle. Well, that's easy. So what we're going to do is we're going to, with our response, which is this raw content, this raw HTML, is what the request content variable is in our Python script. What we're going to do is we're going to say search all of this HTML, this raw HTML, and find us a span with a class of nickname, and just give us the first one is probably what we're going to want. So you would think, oh man, are we going to have to like do some crazy like looping and string concatenation or anything like that? Nope. With Beautifulsoup, you just do handle element, which is going to be the HTML element that has the handle in it, not like we're handling like doing something on the variable. That's just the way I'm naming the variable. So we're going to take the soup instance because it's the content. The soup instance contains all of our content. We're just going to say soup find all, because you know, why not? Let's just grab them all. Any spans. And this is where we can pass in any special classifiers for the HTML element. The first argument is the HTML element. The second argument is any special identifiers. So class and nickname. Notice that we don't put a period for the CSS nickname, because the way that Beautifulsoup loops through this is it reads it as it is in the element. So class nickname, if this was going to be dot nickname, which would be a really weird way to name your CSS classes, we'd have to specify the dot. You read it as it is in the HTML when you're dealing with Beautifulsoup. You don't have to add the period for classes like you normally would with HTML and CSS and all that stuff. So what we're going to do is first we need to check. Let's just see if let's just see what we get printed out, because I'm pretty sure we're going to see some very good content. What the heck? Oh. Why'd that move? Hold on. Sorry. YouTube channel has other videos sprinkled through it, and I thought it was just a stare. Anyway, okay, so we've got the span class. It's a part of a list, and then you can see, here's the details right here. Span, class, nickname, sold by Janice. So, what we can do actually from here is let's check if the array length is greater than 0 actually, because look, for handle 8888 we have nothing, we return nothing, so we have to catch this kind of problem. So let's do if the length of the handle element is greater than 0, not equal to, obviously, because if it's equal to 0 this will still run. We're looking for things that are greater than 0, so 1 and above. Because we're just grabbing the first one anyway, and the way we'll do that is we'll call it handle element, and we're just going to get the first item in the array, which is the 0th position, and then we're going to just call it text, just call it dot text. So dot text, so the handle element, you'll notice, is actually, if we were to call a type of on handle element, it would actually be an instance of Beautifulsoup. It wouldn't just be this raw string. This raw string is just a representation of how Beautifulsoup renders this element. But this element is actually a text object in Beautifulsoup, and if you call .text on it, it gets you whatever's inside the HTML identifier, which is the span object in this case. So once we have that, we know we know what the Twitter handle is. So we can actually just append it to our Twitter handle and do handle. There we go. Okay, so that's going to give us all of that, and we're going to say print ID blank is blank. And what we're actually going to pass in here is we're going to do percent, and because we have more than one argument, we have to put it in parentheses, and we're going to do ID handle. There we go. And if there's no elements for it, we're just going to say print could not find handle for ID. User is probably either not valid, let's just say not valid, or suspended. Okay. And then we got also, because we have an argument in the string, pass in ID. There we go. And so let's see. Oh, we got an invalid argument here. Oh, put a comma. Put a comma. Okay. So here's what we got. ID blank is sold by Janice. ID blank is at donkey13. And here we go. At ID all 8s is could not find handle for ID. User is not valid or suspended. And we can verify that by hopping in to the actual endpoint and specifying 8 8s. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Look at that. Account suspended. Okay, cool. So that was kind of lucky, fortunate of us that I just randomly guessed at a suspended account. Anyway, thank you for whoever suspended their account. It was very useful for us. So what we want to do here is, so if we were to go ahead and print Twitter handles, it's just going to print a list. And you can see that these are all the handles. I think for this guy, he's probably going to want to know what ID equals what handle. So let's do that for him. So what we're going to actually do, or her, you know, I'm assuming their gender actually right there. Okay, so anyway, we're going to make this a dictionary object. And the way that I'm imagining this dictionary object to work is that each single, like there will be a key that is the ID, and it'll be equal to the string that's the handle. So the easiest way to do this is probably just to, instead of appending handle, just say that this ID, which is going to either get updated or created, is going to be equal to handle. And then if we print Twitter handles, it's going to show a dictionary object. So here you go. So you can see the key is here. Let's just take some of these up. This is a single key in it. So you can see that the key is the string, that is the ID, and the value is the at sold by Janice. I don't know if they want us to strip the at symbol. I'm going to leave it just because I think that'd actually be more helpful. I don't know what this guy's planning on using this list for. Hopefully it's not evil, but you know, I guess if we bother ourselves with those questions, we'll never get anything done, right? So so the total handles is going to be equal to the length. I just want to count them up because I think it'd be cool to just know. So the way you can do this is if you have a dictionary, you can actually just get the length of the dictionary by not just passing in length, but what you want to do is you want to do keys. So what this does is this says, okay, how many keys are in this entire dictionary, and then that'll return it. This returns an array, and then length just counts the array. And so it's kind of a nice way of counting dictionary objects when you don't know how many entries are in a dictionary, which is, in my opinion, most often the case. So we got total IDs, which this one's easy to count. We can just do the length of Twitter IDs. There we go. And now we know how many total IDs we searched for and how many total handles we found. So probably the best way to do this is just to tell them that we sell print, and we can do a total of, and we're going to be passing ints here, so we're going to do D. So a total of, you know, blank handles were found out of blank IDs. And we're going to be doing a %, and from here we just pass in, let's see, total number of blank handles. So we're going to do total handles, total handle, and then total ID. And let's see what that prints out. That should print out something kind of fancy. Oh, let's see. It looks like we got an error. So line 31, this keys function is giving us, oh, it's a function. There we go. It's keys parentheses. Okay, a total of 7 handles were found out of 10 IDs. Okay, well that's good to know. I'm gonna silence this. Maybe I don't really like having this line. I think that's kind of useless. Let's just silence that line. I think that'll clean up the print a little bit better. Yeah, okay, cool. I like that. I don't feel like showing each handle as we get the result because we're probably going to display it to them. Let's see, we got CSV going here. So all we need to do now is just write the list to a CSV, which is actually super easy to do in Python. It takes a little bit of practice because there's 1,000 ways of doing it, and if you were to Google writing a dictionary to CSV in Python, you're going to get about 10,000 different answers. So I'm just going to show you the one that I know works because I use it. And if it doesn't work, then we're going to have to we're going to have to figure that one out. So what we're doing is we're going to open a new file that doesn't exist yet called output.csv. And we're going to actually, what we're going to be doing too is we're going to be writing binary information to it. And we're going to do that as f, which gives us a variable to work with inside of this with statement. So we're going to make a writer variable that is equal to CSV writer instance. So what this is going to do is this is going to take the new file that we're creating, and we're going to create a CSV writer class that is attached to our file, and we pass it to a variable named writer, which means now we can use CSV commands. And CSV is a native Python library, so actually this should be supported really well without him having to install really anything at all. And you know, we're going to tell him basic install instructions, like he has to install Beautifulsoup and request. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for the UID, which I'm just, the user ID is just a variable, in Twitter handles, and we're going to actually need the keys. So what this, again, this is going to return an array, and then we're going to iterate over the array where each item, each ID is UID as a variable. And what we're going to do is we're just going to do writer dot write row, and then what you do is whatever you pass in here, you pass it in brackets, and this will write to, you know, column A, column B, column C. However many arguments you specify in these brackets is how many columns are going to get written. And the way I want to do it is I want to show UID, and I want to show Twitter handles UID, because this is now, because what we're doing now is we're saying, okay, get the dictionary and what is the value of UID blank, where this is just so we can iterate over an array of our of the keys of our dictionary and write them into an array. So let's see if we even get a result out of this, see if we get an error or not. So let's see. Byte-like object is required, not string. Well, let's see what happens. Let's see if where's our write file? Here it is, output. Oh, it's opening on my other screen. Let's see if anything even got written. Okay, so you can see that nothing even got written in that instance. Here we go. Okay, so they want to, let's just see if we do write, because we should, maybe we don't have to write anything. And let's delete. Okay. Let's see. Okay, this time we output our CSV. Oh, okay, look, and look, we can just view the CSV. So you can see ID, handle ID, handle ID, handle ID, you know, you guys get the gist. And what we can do is actually, just to be, you know, really nice and just package this up really cool, is let's add some headers to our table. User ID, Twitter handle, and even though the file's already written, it's just going to overwrite the data that's inside of it. And look at that, user ID, Twitter handle. And if we were to open this directory and open up the output CSV in Excel, there you go. Oh wait, we're writing the header every single time. We shouldn't have done that. Break it out of the for loop and let's write it right there. There we go. How did we not see that? Oh, okay, well there we go. Whoops. I have it open, so we got a permission denied error on that one. Let's run it again. And we should be alright this time. There we go. Okay, as you guys can see, we wrote it once, which is the way that I intended it to be. Alright. And now we should have, okay, so now you can see we have the IDs and the handles, and we wrote a blank line in between each one. I wonder why that is. I wonder why there's a black line. Let's see, don't. Okay. I wonder why we wrote a blank line in between each one. Let's see. It's very interesting because there's no return character here. So I find that kind of interesting. And if we get rid of the right row, let's see if we still have the this problem with writing empty spaces. It might just be the way that Excel is parsing this particular CSV file. Yeah, because it looks the same to me. And then if we open it in Excel, the reason I keep closing and opening Excel, yeah, I don't know why it's writing these blank lines. I'm not really sure. I'm sure it has something to do with how we do write rows, or it's the fact that because we are writing instead of writing binary. And I know writing binary doesn't really help us here. It actually doesn't succeed at all. Let's see if we can fix that. Oh, whoops. Let's see. CSV write binary. Let's see. Looking probably for. Actually, you know what we can do? Let's just do to binary. I forget what it is. Let's see. Convert string to binary. This is exactly what we're looking for. So string. Is it ORD? No, because that's gonna a byte array. Really don't want to do any of that, actually. I wonder. Let's just give it a shot. Let's see what ORD does. Not really a tried and true method, but we're gonna see what happens. Who knows what's gonna happen? ORD expected a character. We got a string of length 12. Yeah. Okay, so ORD is not our guy. We would have to iterate over and then join each one of them. That's kind of annoying. Let's see. Stuff like this happens every time I have to write something to CSV. This looks like the solution that we would do, because this would actually write binary. But that's just so verbose. Just a crazy way of doing it. Let's see. CSV write row writes empty rows. I'm sure that's a common problem. Yeah, look, here it is right here. What's going on? Oh, that's probably our problem right here. Yeah, because our new line character is being interpreted as a nothing, and so a nothing is writing a new line. Let's see how that works. I actually would be surprised if that doesn't work. This is an argument that we're just going to put in here. So where new line is going to be that. Now we're going to change that out of binary, out of writing for binary, and let's see what happens. Okay, so we got an output text file, and then if we open the actual output file in Excel, look at that, we got rid of our spaces, and that was because, just again, we specified what a new line looks like, which, I mean, if our lines ended in \n or \t or r or whatever weird thing they might have ended in, that would specify a new line or a new row for CSV writer. And so what we specify as a nothing at the end of the line means new line, because you'll notice there are no spaces in between this data. So there you go. That is pretty much it for this solution. I will be posting. Oh, let's see. Hold on. Do I like Scrapey? Oh, are you talking about the Chrome extension that I'm using? Because I've used Scrapey before. Because I have this, which is, I believe, what you're talking about. Or it's Scraper. It's a Chrome extension. I've used it before. If you're talking about Scrapey, the like a Python library, no, I actually have not. Oh, okay. Well, no, I haven't used any. Let's see. Is there a Python library named Scrapey? Let's see. Oh, yeah, I guess there is. Yeah, no, I've never used this before, unless this is the same extension that I have. It's even the same symbol. But no, this is for Python. This is not the same as the Chrome extension. No, I've actually never used this. Actually seems like a really good solution, because let's see. Hey, you could just specify your URL, and then you would just go through and get whatever you need. Wow, that'd be nice. Well, I guess we did it a little bit of the hard way. It doesn't really matter. I mean, this is a way to do it. Like, there's 1,000 ways to solve any of these problems. So, but that's pretty much it for this stream. So, if I actually have some more projects lined up. There's a suggestion box in the bottom, and I have some big projects, small projects, and kind of everything in between. Even planning on actually having something I'm making as a panel for Twitch. So, if that's, I guess that's it for everybody. I'll be, in the chat, and I'll be uploading this video to YouTube. So, if you like what we did, feel free to add a suggestion, like, sub, all that stuff. And yeah, I'll be back next time with another walkthrough on some random problem. Actually, just a little preview, just to tell everybody what I'm thinking about doing. is I'm thinking about actually writing let's see, saved, a Microsoft Word count tracker. This person transcribes courts for a living and would like a little way for them to show how many words they've counted. I haven't yet thought of a way that I might attack that problem, but it's kind of late where I'm at right now, so I can't really get to it. But I'm thinking maybe we write like just a raw PowerShell script. I've never done that before. I've usually written Bash scripts. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So just stay on the ones and twos on the stream and get notified. So anyway, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it, and y'all have a good night, and I hope you all learned something.